joined this month on the Cumbria Business Growth Hub podcast by Veronica Waller of the Farmer Network. The Farmer Network is a not-for-profit organisation supporting farmers. We've invited Veronica on the podcast to discuss financial support available through the Growth Hub for farms and other land-based businesses. And we'll also be discussing some recent developments in agricultural policy and how the support can be used to help navigate this. Welcome to the podcast, Veronica.
Hello, thank you.
Thanks for being here. Can you start off by telling our listeners what is this financial support and how can it be used?
So the financial support is in the form of a voucher worth up to £500 that farmers can use to help with advice on any aspect of the farm business. It's funded by the Rural England Prosperity Fund for farmers in Westmorland and Furness, particularly those that used to be in what we used to know as Eden District Council and South Lakeland District Council. So it's a very simple voucher scheme. They get a quote from the consultant that they want to use. They fill in an application form and they send it off to Cumbria Chamber of Commerce, who are administering the scheme. And then there's £500 available so that they can get that advice on any aspect of the farm business.
Sounds like a win-win situation, really. The guidance says farming and other land-based businesses. Can you give an example of what a land-based business might be, if not a farm?
Probably forestry. So land-based businesses would be forestry businesses and obviously farmers. It could be landowners that maybe have market gardens or whatever, but they need to be land-based businesses. The Rural England Prosperity Fund money is there for rural businesses, and this part of it is really for farmers, foresters, and other land-based businesses.
So going back to the farm element of this, what are some examples of how a farm might go about using how a farm might go about using these vouchers to pay for consultancy?
So it is any aspect of the farm business. So if you were looking to diversify and you wanted to apply for a farm diversification grant, you could get help towards that advice. If you were developing the farm business and you wanted some technical support to help with understanding grassland management or nutrition or nutrient management, then it could be used for that. One of the things which I think is really critical at the moment is helping farmers understand the new environmental schemes and how that might not replace, but maybe help towards support for their farm businesses that are coping with the phase out of the basic payment scheme.
Yeah. So we discussed this a little bit off air, and you explained to me about how common agricultural policy that we had when we were in the EU is being phased out, and they're bringing in these new schemes, and it's taking a bit of time to work out just how to manage them. How can a farmer go about using these vouchers to help with that stuff?
So we've just had another announcement on the 21st of May from DEFRA, which is setting out what they call the expanded offer for the new sustainable farming incentive. And that's going to be rolled out in July. So over the next month, it's really trying to understand for farmers that perhaps aren't in any environmental schemes, what parts of that new environmental scheme would be appropriate for their business. And also those farmers that are already in environmental schemes might be looking at some of the new options that are available, thinking, well, how and when can I take advantage of that? And it is really complex, and farmers and actually advisors are all getting their heads around all these changes. So I think the £500 advice voucher could help farmers that need more consultancy support to really work through what are very complex options, almost field by field on their farm. What's the right decision to make? Should I go into an environmental scheme? Which options are relevant? And what should I do if I'm already in an environmental scheme, but I've seen something that's more attractive in some of the new rollout for the sustainable farming incentive?
So in a sense, what's happening is that farms are being paid to care more for the environment. What does an environmental scheme on a farm actually look like?
you're sort of saying care more for the environment, which is not quite appropriate. It's because farmers do care very much for the environment, but every single farm is different. So as an example, in the uplands of Cumbria, which is obviously, we have a lot of area that are upland, this new expanded offer includes some more moorland options, also a payment for maintaining dry stone walls. In the sort of more lowland grassland areas, there are options for managing improved grassland, including with things like herbal lays. Um, there's also an option to take some land out of production, and let things like scrub grow up, or just not graze it alongside watercourses. So there's actually 102 options that will be available in the new Sustainable Farming Incentive from July. So that might give you a little bit of an idea just how hard it is for farmers just to get their heads around what's the right option for my business, what do I have to do to be eligible for it, and does it fit my farming practices, and to make an informed decision about what's right for your farm business going forward.
That's interesting, and you can see how a consultant would be so useful to help with that sort of thing. I'm guessing that farmers will have a lot of expertise in aspects of the landscape, but is this stuff really quite specialized, and do you think extra support would be necessary?
I think farmers just need hand holding with understanding. It's a bewildering array of options to think about and to go through. And it's just really understanding which ones are relevant for my land. What do I have to do to participate in that scheme? And do I want to do that for that payment? And as I say, it can be as complex as doing it field by field to really think through what's right, and what is the best outcome for your business, both from the financial point of view, from the payment, but also for its ongoing management.
Really interesting. And so that that incentive to do with sustainability is coming in on the horizon. What are the other kind of support schemes that will be coming, and how will that look? Is there any information on that out yet?
So there's, I think one of the issues for farmers is there's a bewildering array of schemes and a sort of a bombardment of information this year. I mean, we've been rolling from one announcement to the next over the last 6 months. So as well as environmental schemes which pay an annual payment for managing your land in a certain way, there's also equipment grants and there's infrastructure grants. So earlier this year, we had the slurry infrastructure scheme that's now closed. But this summer, we're expecting a cattle housing scheme, which may be relevant for some farmers. We've currently got information about a laying hens housing scheme that would be relevant for those farmers that are producing eggs. Later this year, we'll probably have further rounds of the smaller equipment grants for sort of more everyday farm equipment. So a lot of farmers, in my experience, have fear of missing out. They've heard all these announcements. What do I need for my business? Where do I want to go with my business? And which schemes will help me do that? But a lot of them have short application windows, and it's just sort of making sure you're ready to apply at the right time.
Yeah, really interesting set of challenges, I suppose, for the farming community on the horizon. How do you feel in general about this support for farmers, and what are the opinions that you're hearing?
I think the latest announcement is very welcome. It's been a long time coming. So we've started looking at what's coming next in September 2018, where DEFRA came out with the agriculture bill. So 4 or 5 years ago, they came out, more than 5 years ago, they came out with an initial policy statement on where they wanted to go with the new payments. It's only really now in 2024 that we're seeing a substantive rollout of the Sustainable Farming Incentive with 102 options. So it's taken a long time coming. Meantime, farmers this year will have at least halved their old payment. So they've been losing money out of the old support scheme that was part of the Common Agricultural Policy. But only in the last, I would say, year are they able to get much money out of the new system. And I think it's a lot of information for farmers to take in and for advisors as well. So we're all trying to get to grips with what's available. And what I would say is that this voucher scheme is a way of farmers getting up to £500 of support towards the cost of getting an advisor to help them understand what can help their businesses.
Fantastic. Yes. So if you are a farmer or own a land-based business in the previous Eden and South Lakeland Council areas, please click the link in the show notes and head through to our Cumbria Business Growth Hub website, and you can there download the forms to access this voucher. And if you're having any issues at all, just give us an email and we will be happy to help. The email address is on that page as well. So Veronica, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast. It's been fascinating talking to you.